Survivor's ready! Direct from Hobart, it's time for you to hear those so-called experts from Survivor Oz talk about another reality show, despite the fact they always said they wouldn't ever talk about Survivor. It's The Amazing Race Oz, and here's your host,
Colin Hilding. Hello and welcome back to all of the Canadians, Australians, and Santiagoans who are listening to us around the world. And of course, as always, all the Petro-Canada customers. We're back for episode 2 coverage of The Amazing Race Canada Season 3. And we have 2 people joining me here today, neither of which are from Canada. We're going to start with, we have to stick with tradition, of course, but introducing first, all the way from Snug, the only person anywhere involved in Amazing Race Media who is more fit than Sabrina, Noah Groves.
I don't know, I would be the only one who's less fit than Sabrina, I think. The opposite, but yes, thanks for having me back. Loving this season, so I'm excited to talk about it. Screw the Amazing Race 26. This is awesome.
Yes. Even though I think there were a couple of issues this week that we'll talk about, which came a little bit close to Amazing Race Season 26 complaints, but overall this season is doing it much better, I think.
Yeah, loving it.
And we have to welcome back for the first time in who knows how many weeks involved on anything on Oz after his very long vacation where we understand, learnt the local Rapa Nuian dances, which there'll be a YouTube video up on the site soon.
Was that a detour or a roadblock?
How was the vacation, Jared?
It was awesome. I don't know what to say. Everybody go visit New Zealand because everywhere you look, there's scenery. Look, it's a farm, but it's scenery. It's a scenic farm.
Scenic farm. Is that their tourism slogan? New Zealand, scenic farm.
Yeah, pretty much. Every couple of kilometres assigned to another scenic farm.
Were you secretly on Amazing Race Australia versus New Zealand too?
Oh, you'll have to wait and see, clearly, for that.
Teams must now make their way to a scenic farm. Anyway.
This week we're leaving Canada, which is nice, again, like last season, jumping out of the country nice and early, and we're off to Noah's favorite continent, South America. Noah, why don't you start us off? I guess before we start off, we should mention that they didn't actually go to Santiago, Chile, Chile or Chile in the Canadian accent. Chile. But if anybody does still have the episode and wants to freeze frame, you could see right as John's saying the teams will now make their way to, and he's saying Santiago, Chile. There's a nice little blooper on the freeze frame where they had it written as Santiago, Chile. Did you catch that before I posted the photo, Noah or Jared?
No, I didn't see it. That's funny. If you downloaded this from the website, you will have seen it when you click to download because it will be added to that. How about that?
Yeah, Santiago is right next door to Santiago.
Santiago.
You actually look at this.
So they didn't even leave Canada. That's just like an area in the Maritimes or whatever.
No, it's Santiago, Saskatchewan.
Well, didn't they say during the episode or something like, this place is just like Canada? I swear there was a line. I'm like, so no matter where they go in the world, they've always got to make it something closely connected to Canada.
There are several Santiagoans that are currently immigrating to Canada. That's their closest connection. We had a nice little plug for the BMO Cashback Royal Elite MasterCard.
Oh, wow.
Better or worse product placement than the Fitbits? Let's get opinions. Noah?
It really made me think, do they make them say that every time they do it and then they just pick and choose the ones they want to use, or do they specifically say, like, do this? But, yeah, Fitbit all the way, that's the one thing 26 did better than the B-Max card or whatever it was. That was embarrassing.
Jared, which has the better product placement?
I think it has to be the card. I mean, as soon as I saw it, I was thinking to myself, why did I not take that with me overseas? Like, really, that would have been the best mode to get money out of New Zealand.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit too much of a mouthful to sound natural, and I honestly think that they're supposed to say it, and that the one team that appeared on camera, was it Nick and Sabrina, I think it was?
I thought
Did anybody catch who actually said
I
it?
thought it was Susan and Shanti, but
Oh, it might have been.
I don't.
Either way, either way, whatever team I believe was probably the only one that I got actually get out BMO, cashback,
Could have
Royal
been
Elite,
Dana and Amanda,
MasterCard.
perhaps. It was definitely
Oh,
a
maybe,
female.
yeah. Yeah, it was a female, because only women can pronounce BMO, cashback, Royal Elite, MasterCard.
What are you trying to tell us
By the
there,
way,
Colin?
I am looking at my notes every single time I say that, no joke. Every time I'm looking down, BMO, cashback, Royal Elite, MasterCard.
I thought only
That's gonna-
females could say that.
Well,
Are you-
only females could say
Are
it
you
without
following
saying the
Hamilton
words,
trends here?
Yeah, don't get me involved in any Rapa Nui dances.
And here's your host,
so-
Colleen Hilding.
So they're off to the Geo Adventura Park, where we get the first roadblock after a little bit of cabbie drama. Of lots of cabbies didn't know where they were going. As usual, one team just can't get a cab driver who can follow instructions. But the roadblock, they get to do some paragliding. Noah, what did you think of the first roadblock?
Yeah, it was fun. Classic chilly roadblock. They always seem to be doing paragliding in South America. But, yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it had some funny moments, but for the most part, probably the weaker aspect of this episode.
Jared?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I wish that there was a bit more to it, just so the order could have changed up a bit. I mean, it's pretty much who can sort of run off the edge of the cliff the fastest, and then sort of you're just making your way down slowly, so not much to do.
I hear the go-go stop now calling again.
Whose phone is that?
It's the BMO executives.
Yeah. BMO Cashback Royal Elite, they have a MasterCard offer for Jared Lubick here.
For that wonderful promotion.
Yeah.
But I'm still waiting for a call from Petro Canada, though.
Petro Canada, or they outsource to Santiago, so you might get it slightly bit of an
I only
accent,
travel
but they
to
can-
areas with Petro Canada stations. So.
Yeah. I guess there's not really a lot of Petro Canada outside of Canada, or maybe there is.
Yeah.
I was surprised when I went to the Bahamas that they had majority Canadian banks there. Like, not American banks, not even like Caribbean banks, just every bank was Canadian for some reason.
Taking over
So BMO has a big presence overseas.
Yeah, they're popular.
Yeah, did you guys notice the selfie stick that they had to hold while they were paragliding?
I've noticed it with John.
Yeah, like, the selfie stick made a comeback. Every team had to hold it, which really made no sense because it was, like, it wasn't take a picture of yourself. It was, this is our other video camera. So maybe that's the trade-off of going overseas, that they have to be their own camera people. And it's a bad shot, too, because all it's showing is their face. It's like, hey, it's my face and some random clouds behind me. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know if the selfie stick needed to make a comeback, or maybe save it to later in the episode.
This is why I love John Montgomery, though, because you wouldn't see Phil or Grant Bowler doing this. Like, John Montgomery gets hands down into the action. If there's a challenge, he'll be doing it. So, love to see that. For a minute, I thought he wasn't going to do it. I'm like, John, what happened?
Yeah, well, we didn't get to see him do the Rapa Nui dance in that getup either, so there was probably like, John, you're doing one or the other, selfie stick or loincloth, I don't know.
Yeah.
With what team was it? Leilani. They get the clue where it says, what was the clue about? Like, it didn't say something about heights or flying. It was something along those lines. But as soon as she found out what it was, she was all terrified. But you're at a paragliding place. Like, surely when they walked up, there was a big sign that said, now offering paragliding. So why is she so surprised and terrified when she finds out she's doing it?
Maybe they misspelled paragliding like Sandy Gago. She thought it was something else.
Maybe she was spelling it dessert?
Yeah. Or you're going to get paralyzed or something like that.
Yeah.
Would have been a miss.
But I will agree, this is definitely a step down for the roadblocks. And I really don't like these ones where there's no challenge to it. Like you were saying, Jared, it's just who can run off the cliff quickest. I mean, it wasn't even that. I mean, one person's going at any given time, and nobody was that scared of it, so... think we need to move on. After this, they go to take some real selfies with a bunch of murals around Santiago. Santiago is known for its murals, apparently. And this is where the selfies, again, Amazing Race 26, bit of a comeback, but I will say with this part, it was definitely similar to Season 26, but in a better way. Jared, why don't you go first? What did you think of the selfies challenge?
I thought it was great. I think here it worked a lot better than the Amazing Race 26. To actually have it as a challenge and to have... Clearly it was difficult, like, finding the murals that they were sort of given to get in the photos, and I just loved the team struggling to take selfies. I think my favourite was Brian and Cynthia when they made some comment about, we're not trained in taking selfies.
Yeah.
Or something or other. And it was just hilarious. It's like, okay, well, you obviously need to take a class on that or something. But I mean, the whole challenge together, it was, it worked. It was great. It was good to see sort of the order change around a lot during that bit, and sort of some teams really streak ahead and then others fall behind.
Yeah, Brian's line, that was great. That was my favorite part. I'm warming up a lot to Brian and Cynthia in this episode. We'll go through it more throughout, but Rhys said something like, as police officers, we're not trained in taking selfies. Like, what does the police officer have to do with that? Are there other jobs? Like, as dancers, you know, we're trained in taking selfies. We're taking selfies all the time in the middle of our dancing, or whatever it is Brent and Sean do, like TSN sportscasters or whatever. You think Neil's used to taking a lot of selfies? Like, I don't know if police officers is the profession that has the biggest issue with selfies here. Here's the line that I really liked. Of course, Sabrina. I'm loving Nick and Sabrina more week after week, where she said, I can't run because, well, I'm just not that fit.
I was going to bring... I loved that because it was so dramatic. Like, you thought this was when they bring in the story about when she was a child, like her grandmother and her were in a house fire or something, and, you know, typical reality TV. And she, I can't run because I'm just not that fit.
Just brutally honest. We had a bit of a debate last week on Sabrina, whether she was annoying or amusingly annoying. Jared, where would you fall from what you've seen in this episode on Sabrina? We have to get somebody to break the tie here. Do you like Sabrina, or is Sabrina a bit too much for you?
No, I think that's definitely amusing, annoying. Yeah, just to come out and say that she was too unfit to run was just hilarious. It was like, do you know what show you're going on? Do you know what show you applied for in the first place?
A couple other things here. Sean and I can't remember who was doing the paragliding, if it was Brent or Sean. I think it was Sean, where he was asking, again, this is part of the problem with the roadblock, but also a really funny line, saying, so I'm not responsible for doing anything. I'm only responsible for living through it. Perfectly sums up the roadblock. You don't have to worry about anything. Just don't die, Sean or Brent or whichever one it was. We'll figure it out.
Roadblock. Don't die.
Yeah, we have to talk about one more thing with Brian. When there was one picture where I couldn't even tell he was smiling, but apparently he was, and he was bothered by it. Because as soon as the picture's taken, he's like, "Why was I smiling?" Like, all serious. There was a lot of criticism towards Brian and Cynthia preseason. This is my local team. Any improved opinion on them this week, Noah?
Yeah, well, this was going to be a big talking point, and sorry, I'm kind of dying right now. There were two teams in the preseason, and the oh, I'm so sorry. Let me have a sip of water. There were two teams in the preseason where I was quite critical on. Then in the first episode, I was quite critical on, and there was one team which changed for me, and one team that lowered for me. And Brian and Cynthia, I am on the bandwagon. I'm loving them after week two. Week one, I was like, come on. One of my favourite teams, I love them. Cynthia in the dancing outfit. Brian and his super seriousness. It's just, I love them. I hope them around for a while. The biggest change out of any team for me. I'm definitely on the bandwagon.
Jared, you weren't here for the preseason, but Brian and Cynthia, are you liking them after this episode?
I am. I think the great thing about them is that they're just one of those teams that they're not intentionally trying to make jokes or be funny, but it's just the way that they are that comes across as hilarious unintentionally. So, I mean, that's great about them. I think there'll be a lot of fun sort of throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, Brian, it was hard to get a read on them because he did seem very serious. And last week, I did like the moment where Cynthia, just felt really stupid about not crawling across the balance beam or whatever. But I really am getting the impression now that these are just like two hard-nosed cops. And the funny things we're going to see from them are completely unintentional. We'll talk about more of them later. But just that, like, Brian, why am I smiling? And as police officers, we're not trained on selfies. I mean, he is the stiffest guy we've ever seen on Amazing Race, and it is hilarious to watch him. I'm totally with you, Noah. Like, went from one of my bottom 3 teams to probably one of my top 3 teams instantly. So I'm loving them. Dijon and Lalani. We saw a lot of good stuff in this mural challenge, and we kept waiting for these X's to just explode on each other. But if you heard the first few episodes, we were very hesitant because they were never married. They were just a couple who dated for a while, so maybe they just get along as friends. But we saw the X explosion we were waiting for. Noah, the whole Dijon Lalani thing, so much here to talk about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want CTV to release those images online of the selfie because her face, she was so miserable and she like refused to play along at all, and the pictures were so funny, and I believe this was one of the teams that fell behind, like as Jared said. This was a challenge that really wasn't first in best dressed, like a common theme in Amazing Race Canada, but yeah, this was so much funny, and they're on my radar a lot more. Like, we couldn't talk about them too much in the first episode, but a lot of teams getting some more airtime this week, and they're definitely on my radar as one that could be entertaining if they stick around for a bit longer. But this entire segment was one of the funniest moments of the episode, though.
Yeah, I love, Dijon saying, I'm trying to encourage her, but she doesn't seem to be taking it that way. And you get that one moment which, in all of the commercials leading up to the episode this week, CTV was playing it over and over. You just have a moment where she's like, shut up! Like, just screaming at him. I want to find that and maybe loop it on to the end of every episode we have. Shut up!
Yeah, we need that soundbite for whenever Rossi's talking on the show.
That's going to be our new Willem scream for the Amazing Race Canada.
Yeah. Shut up!
Yeah, I want to see so much more of them, and you're right. I mean, last week there were the 2 teams that we really couldn't remember were even in the episode. Dijon and Lalani definitely came out this time, and their performance was good, even considering this. But some of those selfies, like, I think the first one, you only see her forehead, so they're bad at taking selfies too. So apparently, now we know police officers, despite not receiving training, are better at selfies than dancers. Because then the second one, she has like this really miserable smile, like a sarcastic smile, and then after that, it just gets more miserable with each one. Like, please release those to the public.
Yeah,
this is a mural-heavy episode here. I did like that they had to find 5 murals, and as you're saying, there was a lot of running around, and Nick and Sabrina came up with a brilliant idea, as they seem to every week. Let's just drive and find them, so that was nice. But second part here, where they had to translate the colors on a mural and paint with some kids, or it was more like the kids were their like drill instructors in this. They were the boss and did whatever the kids wanted. Did you like the second part of the mural challenge, Noah?
Well, first I will say that actually in the north of Tasmania there's a town made up of murals. So, Amazing Race 27 going to Hobart. There's the rumours flying around. So.
There's been rumours for a few seasons for a few different country editions.
It's gonna happen, damn it! But yeah, this second bit wasn't as good. Some of the kids were quite funny. Then I had Michaela with having a crush on that other painter guy. Yeah, really not too much here. It was just people painting and getting inside the lines, which I suck at doing. So I would fail at this. I can never get inside the lines. But Yeah, I thought the first half was much, much better than the second half.
Jared?
Yeah, I'd agree. It wasn't sort of the best challenge. It was one of those challenges where they sort of describe it and you think, oh, yeah, okay, sort of that sounds difficult, the whole translating the colours. And then they get there and the kids are like, paint that bit blue, paint that bit
Yeah.
purple, that's red. So I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it turned out being. And it was just another one of those challenges where there wasn't much room to sort of overtake and move forward.
Yeah, this is the other part of what I was saying was a little bit too similar to season 26 of the US version. Some of these easy challenges, they're crowding the episode. I think it was the same thing with the paragliding. I would just rather you come up with one or two really difficult roadblocks and detours and just let it play out because it's more dramatic. I mean, it's exactly like you said, Jared. John set it up, said they're going to have to translate the colors from Spanish into English, but they show up and it's the kids like, yellow. And they're like, oh, this one? Yes. And then it was way too easy. And I think my only moment here, again, who would have thought from Brian of all people, the guy who wasn't trained on taking a selfie could offer a fist bump to a 9-year-old kid. And of course, the stiffest fist bump you've ever seen. I have to love Brian in that.
Broke his knuckles, the poor kid.
Yeah. So after this, we have the race for the Express Pass. The Express Pass coming out in episode 2. As usual, the person who gets the Express Pass gets a second Express Pass that they can pass off to somebody else. So this time it was a bit of a race, which I like when there is a race to get the Express Pass, but not too sure about how it all played out. Noah, the Express Pass challenge, if you want to call it that.
I thought it was kind of mixing up the episode a bit, and I did like that it's in this episode as a race rather than just the first team of the first leg. I'm not huge on that. Kind of reminded me a bit of 25, where you had Adam and Bebe with the hidden immunity express pass thing in London, where they had to go off course. So it was a bit like that, and I think it was pretty obvious who would get it, but there was a bit of doubt. Brian and Cynthia could sneak through. But yeah, I enjoyed this little part, and I don't want to jump the gun, but the giving up of the express pass, we'll touch on that. But
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like that they had it kind of off course rather than just at the end of the leg.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of the classic Amazing Race seasons where there was always the race for the fast forward, and you would get a bit of a race. So I was a bit optimistic, but the way, again, John set this up sounded like a challenge. And what it came down to was he said, you have to find, this couple in the crowd, but there's a big white box that they just stood inside. So if they can't find the couple, they could find the marked spot where they're supposed to stand. So
I did like that of all the teams, Hamilton and Michaela. That was a bit of a shock, really. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, well, again, we didn't see them at all last week.
Yeah.
They seemed to disappear from the episode and just jump in halfway through. But Jared, anything to add on the whole Express Pass? I guess on this portion of the Express Pass?
Yeah, I think it is good having it as sort of a side bit for them to sort of go off a bit off the course to get it. I mean, it obviously would work better if the teams were closer together, so it seemed more of a risk to go and get it. I think there should be potentially like a challenge, so make it kind of a bit more similar to the fast forward in that they have to sort of do an extra bit, but then there's sort of a challenge there to get the express pass. But I think overall it worked fairly well.
Mm-hmm. For anybody who's keeping track at home, Susan and Sharon are still one challenge behind everybody else, so we'll keep you up to date as things move along.
They're still there now.
Yeah. Yeah. They went to Santiago. They didn't realize it was Santiago.
Completely wrong continent.
Detour. We have motion and emotion. Motion was the Rapa Nui dance, full in the loincloth or tribal gear, whatever, and emotion was learning and reciting a poem in Spanish. So, first of all, I guess cover both. Noah, which detour would you have done? Which one did you like to watch better?
Ooh, I would suck at both of them. like, there's no way I could do either of them. But I guess probably the dancing, because it would be hard to recite something. But that would be humiliating, dressing up in that costume, dancing around in the middle of Santiago like a fool. But that would probably be the easier one, and most teams did go for that. But I thought they were both equally entertaining because we didn't really see much of the emotion. I loved Nick and Sabrina, and she was so proud of herself. We used our brains! Like, yes, you did. Good job. But yeah, they dominated that, and I liked that Gino and Jesse had to switch and they were kind of ahead, so that was a bit of drama in there. And the dancing was pretty funny, but the costumes were nowhere near as bad as they made out, because the girls got to wear nearly like a full bodysuit. Like,
Yeah.
they had heaps of clothes on.
Yeah, I was having trouble
The guys
finding...
a bit less.
Yeah, like when Brian and Cynthia were on and other teams, like I'm watching Brian straddle a woman's leg and I'm like, how does Cynthia feel about this? But then I realized that is her because they were more covered. I was losing track of the females in this competition.
I thought Brian and Cynthia were hilarious because, of course, they're straight act. Like these police officers who don't do selfies and now they're dancing around like idiots. And I thought Cynthia looked so funny. Another plus for them. They were really funny this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, both two challenging detours and entertaining. So thumbs up.
Jared?
Yeah, they were both good. I think I would have picked the poetry, just because I think I might have been slightly better at that, but I think I would have sucked at both of them. Yeah, I mean, they were both good. It was good to have the detours that are kind of polar opposites of one another. It's good when there's sort of a more physical one and then a bit more of a mental one, just to give sort of the teams a chance. But, I mean, the dancing was great to watch. That was definitely the heart of the episode.
We should point out here that what we were alluding to earlier with Hamilton Michaela getting the express pass, they showed up at Motion and decided because Hamilton is still transitioning from being female to male that he didn't want to wear the outfit because he didn't want to be seen with so little clothes on. Understandable, but they used the express pass jumping forward when they were already in first place. I have some opinions on this. I'm sure everybody has opinions on it, but we're going to go to the Amazing Race Oz's equivalent of Hamilton Michaela, jumping in halfway into the episode, the first time you've noticed him, but he's been here the whole time. Rossi, how are you doing?
Okay.
We're at Hamilton Michaela. They're using the express pass. You have any feelings on that?
I was reading on Twitter that he would justify that decision till the end, or something to that effect, that he doesn't regret it or whatever. And I totally understand using it, but I kind of wish they went to the other detour.
Yeah. Yeah,
Is
like,
Hamilton
why didn't...
spoiling this season by saying that he didn't regret it because they won?
Let's hope not.
Come on, Hamilton.
We'll find out at the end of the season. Noah, for me, this was the big question of the entire episode. Did it make sense to use the express pass? Obviously, everybody would understand not wanting to do that detour, but it's a detour. You can switch. Gino and Jesse did it. Gino and Jesse were behind them. They switched, and they still didn't come in last. Hamilton and Michaela were first place. So, what do you think about the whole express pass fiasco, Noah?
Yeah, I think I'm much the same as you were about to say before I butted in just switch. I totally get why he would want to not do that. Like, totally understandable. But you're in first place. It's not like you're trailing right behind. Like, this is leg 2, and you're going to need that down the line when something gets really challenging. And I'm guessing the poetry wasn't too far away. So I was really thinking, why don't you just switch? You're allowed to. Have you read the rule book? So yeah, now they're not going to have an express pass and another team is going to. So that could really come into trouble for them. I think they should have switched. Poor move, and it's probably the earliest express pass use we've ever seen. So understandable, but not savvy in my opinion.
Jared?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a dumb move to not at least go and try the poetry and sort of see how that worked out, and then if they couldn't get through that, to just use the express pass there instead. Yeah, there's not really any positives to using it so early. The only thing I can think of is if there is a U-turn, obviously they have less of a target on their back because teams aren't going to be trying to get rid of that express pass, so that's a bonus. But apart from that, it's really sort of disadvantaged them moving forward.
Well, she didn't make... No, you go, Russ.
I was going to say, in the most recent Australian season, John and Murray used their pass straight away, and it really didn't have any effect on their race. I mean,
Did they win?
Good point.
Well, fair enough. But that was
They could have used it in the leg they got eliminated on.
I think here's the thing for me. Using Express Pass, if you have any doubt you could be behind, and maybe they did want to just secure winning a leg, because let's face it, the prizes are good on the winning a leg for this. I mean, again, the winners got to go on a trip to Delhi and then 6 months, free gas.
It's not like Australia season 1. Here's $1,000 Kathmandu. Buy a jumper.
Tim Hortons coffee gift card. Yeah, but for me, they were in first place. Not only were they in first place, but they hadn't even started motion. They could have jumped to a motion and wouldn't have lost any time. I mean, they would have lost maybe 5 minutes travel. So to me, it was completely wasted. And I think even the justification, I'm guessing that Hamilton Michaela, it slipped their mind that they could switch, because even when John was questioning them later on, do you think it was wise to do that? The rationalization was, well, yeah, the teams are going to be treating us nicer because we have another one, but he didn't answer the question of whether it was, a mistake to use theirs. So that's what I would go with.
I do think, in some little fairness to them, that does make sense that now they're going to be treated a bit nicer, so other teams might be wanting to help them, plus they don't have a big target on their back. So while I think it was a mistake, I think there is some justification.
Yeah, the target I understand, but as far as the other teams treating them nice, they would do that anyways, because they still would have it. Even if they didn't use their Express Pass this week, they would still have the other one to give.
Very good point.
Yeah. One other thing to ask on here. Is there a train going by? What was that?
That was a ball falling off of a chair.
I just thought they had really mini trains in Snug, like everything else in Snug.
There goes the gnome train again.
Rossi, yeah.
Just one more thing on the pass. They definitely need to make sure that they tell the teams that it's been used, so that they don't have this looming target because they have it.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, I would think some of the teams would just be paranoid and assume, well, they're telling us that, but maybe they haven't. So I don't know if it would make a difference if they did or not, but it's a good point. Do you want to give us your opinion on the detours, motion and emotion? Which one would you have done? Which one was more entertaining to watch?
Well, I would say motion was more interesting because no one did emotion, except I think Nick and Sabrina, and that was really sad and pathetic of a challenge, I'd have to say.
Are you still on the hating Sabrina train?
No, I think I was just generally let down by some of the challenges in this episode, especially the painting, but you guys went over that.
Yeah, we covered that. One thing I want to point out, as we did say, for those keeping track at home, Susan and Sharon are still one challenge behind. And let's talk about their selfies, since this was the point of the episode where their selfies came in. Did anybody else notice that their selfies were not on screen? The shots that were shown of their selfies were taken from the camera person's perspective about 20 feet away. And you could see them holding their cameras overhead in the shot. So their selfies were so bad that they couldn't be used on screen.
I didn't notice because I was looking at the car the whole time.
Wait, who are Susan and Sharon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, kind of unrelated, it's weird that they used cameras. They didn't use phones. That was weird.
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time you saw someone taking a selfie with a camera?
Well, you think if they're going to do that, have the camera as one of your product placements too,
Yeah. Do they not have phones in Santa Gaga?
Yes. Santiago has like a no phone policy or no selfie policy with phones. But I did have to point out because it was very obvious to me right away that the pictures they're showing of them, because they are taken from like where the cameraman would be standing, and you could see them holding the phone above them. So obviously it's not or the camera above them. So it's obviously not a selfie. And I was figuring because they're taking these overhead shots, the murals weren't present in all of the pictures, but they were last anyway, so just let it go. Like, I'm gonna put Susan and Sharn down as the most inept team in any recent season of The Amazing Race. Like, it was pretty embarrassing to watch this.
I'll agree with you, and I call Libby and CJ the worst team to ever compete.
Yeah, and their selfies were just as bad, but slightly more entertaining.
I just see you taking your selfie missing the train.
Did anybody else catch in emotion the correct pronunciation of chili?
Chile.
Yeah. Every single team, as soon as they announced where they were going, every single team, apparently it's a thing here in Canada, they pronounce it as chili, even though it's Chile.
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 Were they hungry? Is that your bowl, Noah? Were you eating chili?
Come on, Rossi. I didn't know you were a dad.
What?
That was an ultimate dad joke. Oh, you got chili. Are you hungry?
Oh, a dad joke. I just thought you were making some reference to Rossi being a father. Like,
well, it could be. I don't actually know. I'm not ruling anything out, but I don't think he is.
Rossi, would you teach your children how to pronounce Chile properly?
Yes, over a nice bowl of chili.
Yeah. Gino and Jesse, I don't think they got a single word right in this entire challenge. I like Gino and Jesse are a very competitive team, but I liked seeing them fall behind because they didn't take it too hard. They kind of took it with a bit of humor, and as we said, they switched. And this is what made me really happy. We've been saying over and over again, the problem with season 26 was too predictable which people were leaving, and then the problem of the challenges being too easy. Season 25, which was a much better season, the US version, did have the issue of people switching detours all the time. This is the only time somebody switched and it nearly cost them. So I'm hoping going forward that we don't have people switching too much because it almost burnt the most competitive team here. And we have to get your opinion on this, Rossi. We won't even set it up because you haven't heard the rest of the conversation, but your opinions on Brian and Cynthia in this episode. Improved, worsened?
Well, I thought they weren't that bad. I really didn't think much until I started taking a selfie, and that was just so embarrassing. But I don't know, they were really just nothing. Like they were just boring.
Boring. Okay, the next scene we have to talk about here. Brian and Cynthia, after they complete their detour, in the back of the cab, Brian saying, "I busted a move on that one." And then Cynthia saying she wanted to hug the guy, and Brian's like, "You're very huggy." She's just dead serious. "No, I'm not." Like, this is what makes them so great. They are so serious. It's like really militant versions of Hank Hill from King of the Hill. I love them.
Yeah, they're great.
Nothing else to add on Brian and Cynthia? You're still bored by them? You're still looking at the car?
Come on,
no.
Someone needs a gif of Cynthia dancing. That was great.
Yes.
I just like their selfie bit.
Yeah, the selfie was good. We talked about that earlier. Not being trained as police officers for selfies. That's going to be put into the police academy as of next year. We have to go through this one. Dana and Amanda making maybe the second biggest mistake of this episode. Running uphill. If anybody was really paying attention to how, like, they said 2.5 kilometers. I don't know how long it would take them to run uphill 2.5 kilometers. I'm not even I'm not a police officer. I'm not in that good shape, and I can run uphill 2.5 kilometers in maybe, 15 minutes or so. But the sun was bright when they started, and it was pitch black when they finished. That was a long run. Noah, did you like that scene? Did you like the challenge of the mistake they made?
Well, I liked it because teams actually did get ahead. And when I say teams, I mean teams. Like a lot of teams.
3 at
because,
least.
Yeah, a lot of times when this happens, it's like, oh yeah, a bit of drama, but you know that they're going to be the next team anyway. It's just to throw us off a bit. But teams actually did get ahead. Like this is why this season was exciting, even though we knew which team was going home this week. But yeah, I really liked this scene. It was stupid on their behalf. This team, I think they're trying to be the new hockey girls, but they're failing. I did.
Stop bringing up the hockey
girls. Somebody give those girls some sticks. But, yeah, they're just boring. They're kind of bland. Like I don't dislike them, but I don't love them. But yeah, this was a great scene, and 2.5 kilometers uphill. Like that's going to set you back a bit. So don't know what they were thinking, but it was a good kind of end to the episode.
Rossi?
Yeah, I thought it was so funny that they actually were so sick of the cabs, like, oh, they left us here. But they just had, forget the cabs and ran.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good job physically. They were able to pretty much run the whole thing. But when Nick and Sabrina pass you, you've messed up.
Yeah. Nick and Sabrina were second place last week.
When they pass you, you messed up.
Jared, how quickly can you run 2.5k uphill?
I'm not sure, but I'm going to say faster than those two. I just love the guard at the gate saying, it's 2.5 kilometers, and, he's saying it to them, and obviously they can't understand, but he's just, you can tell, that he's just don't do it, don't run up there, catch a cab, and they're just okay, just up the hill, and then they set off, and it was just hilarious.
It should have been a part of the challenge that they had to run up the hill.
Oh, that would have been great.
Although Nick and Sabrina would be out.
Yeah, very good point. I was saying earlier, if it was 2.5k, it shouldn't have taken them that long. But then again, I just remembered there was the scene later on where Gino and Jesse were trying to find it, and they were on the ground, I'm assuming around the same area, and it looked like it was up a mountain. So I'm going to assume, even if this was 2.5 kilometers, it might as well have been 10. For that distance.
Plus the whole day of dancing and selfies, painting.
Yeah. Although they got through the dancing in about 5 seconds, so I don't think that was too much of a challenge for them. I did also love when the cabs are going past, how panicky they got in the end. They're like, "Come back for us! Will you come back for us?" They sound like they were about to be just stranded in the wild. Somebody save us!
I love that Gino and Jesse's taxi driver just left.
Gino and Jesse's taxi driver did what?
Just left.
Oh, he just left, yeah. Yeah, at least he didn't have the bags in there. There's a lot of people who couldn't
No, James and Abba.
Yeah, apparently Santiagoans just don't speak very good English, because...
Well, he understood them, but he's just oh, fuck that.
Yeah, forget that.
I'm out of here.
He probably waited as long as they said so. They're like, 1 minute, just wait 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute up.
Or he watched them until he saw what they were wearing, and then he's like, I'm not waiting around for these guys. So he just drove off.
But the best line, he's literally not here, was just so good. I laughed so hard at that moment.
Yeah, I'm always correcting people on the use of literally, and I had to get a kick out of that too. It's he's literally not here. As opposed to what? He's allegorically not here, hypothetically not here. Was there an alternate verbiage for that one? We did say with the use of the Express Pass, Hamilton, Michaela, obviously the first place team, and they did get the prize, so if that's what their real objective was, then success for them. Noah, Hamilton, Michaela, we've talked a lot about them. Anything else to add?
Yeah, they got a bit more airtime, as a lot of teams did this time around, while others didn't get as much airtime. But I like them, but they're a bit, not bland, but I think they're a bit unexperienced. Is that a word? Inexperienced? I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
This is why I wouldn't do the emotion thing, because I can't even say English words, let alone Santiagians, but... Yeah, I like them. I don't love them. I think a lot of the reason they got airtime this week was because they got the Express Pass and they were first. Mm-hmm. They had the transgender mention, which the American version would have done all the time. Yeah. I'm transgender, I can't take a selfie.
Yeah.
I'm transgender. I can't paint. That's what the American version would be. Oh wait, I need to not bag out the Americans. I'm sorry.
It would have been more along it would have been more irrelevant to it. Like it would have been more along the lines of, as a transgender person, I'm very proficient in selfies, and as a transgender, and I'm well traveled.
Right.
Transgenderins have to learn Santiagoan before they go through the procedures.
It would be the opposite, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You're right there, but. Yeah, at least when he brought it up, it actually made sense in relation to what was happening. But, okay, team. I don't think they're going to get as much airtime as they did this week next week.
How about the pit stop greeter? Did you like the pit stop greeter this week?
Who was it?
Not enough teeth, not enough claws.
Who was it?
It was some guy, some Santiagoan.
Yeah,
he had the music cart with the birds. Like, that was so cool.
The music cart, yeah. It was okay.
Yeah, I think it was a good introduction, but they didn't really use them more after that. But Rossi...
I love John standing there, and then as soon as they kind of show up, it's just bim, start playing.
Rossi, pit stop greeter, and Hamilton, Michaela.
I love the pit stop greeter, and then for the first, when Hamilton and Michaela arrived, the bird was flying, and I thought it was so cool. Obviously, my favorite team, staying my favorite team right now. Bad decision aside, I think they're still my favorite team, so.
What, who is?
Hamilton and Michaela.
Ah, yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant the singer and the bird guy.
Yeah, I was thinking... Are they on The Amazing Race Chile?
Chile. Jared, Hamilton, Michaela?
I mean, they're an okay team. I have only watched one episode, so maybe they were great in the first episode, but I didn't think there was too much to talk about with them.
We're still not sure they were in it.
The pit stop greeter was good, though. Although I did appreciate more so just the dog that was chasing teams up the hill in the background. I thought that was funny.
There were a lot of dogs in Santiago. Did anybody else notice?
I love the scene where John's like, teams will now make their way to a working class suburb. You see homeless people with stray dogs everywhere. I'm like, geez, full on. This is primetime TV. This is a bit crazy.
And there's just dogs, like you said, homeless dogs, lying in the street, and people are running past them, and the dogs don't flinch. I don't know what it's like in Australia. Maybe in Emu Plains it's different, or Snug, those small places. But, I'm assuming the same thing for you, Rossi. If you're running past a dog on the street, it's either going to bark at you, attack you, or hump your leg. It's not just going to lie there and do nothing.
There was one dog, wasn't it, that barked at one of the teams, but I'm blanking on who it was.
I don't remember it.
Yeah, when they were at the mural section. So I can't remember who it was, but they just couldn't get to the mural that they wanted to take a picture at.
But yeah, all these other dogs just really, it was a bit hardcore to be showing dying dogs on TV.
Dying dogs?
Well, they weren't half
humping legs? The hump is out of the dog, so they must be dying.
Alive and full of spirit. I'm just going to show you.
Okay.
Dying Dogs of Santiago. Yeah. Hosted by Louis Theroux.
Noah, team number 2, Brian and Cynthia. Anything else to add?
I pretty much summed it up. Hated them not hate, but I didn't really like them in the first episode or the preseason. On the bandwagon now, I think they're straight actors so far. And I hope they get into more crazy situations that they're not used to being. And so I love them.
Rossi, did you literally love Brian and Cynthia or literally hate them?
I literally don't care.
Oh.
There was one thing when they went to go for the express pass and then they saw that it wasn't there. What did they end up telling to Nick and Max? I'm trying to remember.
I forgot to bring that up earlier.
There?
Yeah, they said the express pass isn't there, which to me seems like a dumb idea. Why not just let them keep looking and you can pull ahead? It didn't seem like the smartest idea, but maybe they figured 11 teams.
Yeah. Don't know.
Does that answer your question, Robbie?
I don't remember. I
get 'em
don't
on the
remember
show.
that scene too well. That's all I
Yeah.
was just trying to remember.
Just open your door, Colin, and ask. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
that's
they're just
right.
like right outside.
They're still waiting to arrest me in the middle of the night, so
Yeah. Just
So
ask them that.
careful what you say.
I'm liking them now. So they're gonna arrest you, Rossi.
Yeah, they're heading down to Jersey right now.
Drew University is gonna be raided by Brian and Cynthia Brigade. Jared,
SWAT team.
Jared, Brian, and Cynthia SWAT team.
Oh, I mean, they're great. It's just going to be the whole way through that unintentional humor that kind of makes you want them to stick around. So yeah, I'm with Noah. I hope that they just get into more and more ridiculous situations each week.
I want them to be like the more humorous Terry and Ian. Because Terry and Ian was the same way. Like, everybody hated them in the beginning. Then they're like, well, this team's actually pretty cool. So
Yeah, actually, that get huge Terry.
Mhm.
Is that there? Terry, and Ian vibes from them. Definitely.
Team number 3, the wrestlers, Nick and Matt. Noah.
Not my favourite team, but also a team I do like a lot. And they haven't changed after week 1. I think they're consistently entertaining. I think they're going to be around for a long time. And yeah, nothing outstanding from them, but I still really enjoy them. So good on Nick and Matt.
Rossi?
I don't really care for them either. They weren't really standouts this episode. I did enjoy them in the first one, but this one they were just kind of meh.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the first episode, they were one of my favorites in that, but we also didn't get to see a lot of teams. Jared, you haven't seen the first episode, so this is your first exposure. Nick and Matt?
I think they'll sort of grow on me as the season goes along. I think given sort of the right challenges and the right situations, they'll be funny. I am looking forward to the tango that was teased in the preview for next week. I think that'll be pretty funny with the two of them. So, yeah, I think they'll be good value.
Nick and Sabrina were number 4. So there's a lot of teams that are doing things wrong according to Rossi, but let's get Noah's opinion first. Nick and Sabrina.
Hands down, my favourite team. I hope they're around to the finale because I could just watch 42 minutes of them on screen the whole time. They are so entertaining. Like, if this was the American version, All Stars already. They are great. I love the. I can't run because I'm not fit, as we already mentioned, and we used our brains. Like, she is so funny, and it's not like he's bad either. Like, he is also entertaining, just not as much as Sabrina, but he's great sometimes too. So I can only say positive things about them. If they go next week, I'm done with this because I love them so much. Favorite team, hands down.
Yeah, as you mentioned before, I mean, they also are smart. We've been seeing them 2 weeks in a row doing some things that other teams aren't thinking of. With this week, I think obviously the move they had with the driving around, but even just choosing the Spanish challenge, I did find it funny, though, that even in something like that, Sabrina can still be slightly humorous. When Nick was rehearsing next to her, she's like, get away from me, I can't concentrate with you standing here. Like,
well,
that was nice.
They do speak, like, 4 different languages, didn't they?
Yeah.
So, and am I completely making this up, or wasn't there a soccer challenge in the preview for next week?
Yes.
And he was a professional soccer player, wasn't he? So.
Yes, and she has watched soccer.
But she's too unfit to ever play it. She's too unfit to watch soccer.
Rossi?
Well, we saw what happened with the hockey girls and the hockey, so Nick's probably going to be out next week in the soccer challenge.
Yeah, and Neil with the sportscasting.
Yeah.
Nick and Sabrina, Rossi, anything else to add? Positive or negative?
It's gotten worse.
No!
Like,
get off.
At first I thought she was just, like, pathetic. Now she's annoying and pathetic.
This is why we don't let you on the show till halfway through.
Like, she's like, so, like, we used our brains, that's intelligence. Like, shut up.
Well, no other team thought of that. They were using their brains.
They literally were using their brains?
used their brains in this task.
I can't, no.
Okay. Jared?
I think they're a fun team. I love the teams that kind of struggle with stuff, but admit it and kind of make it through. So I think the longer they stay around, the better.
I'm waiting for the challenge where it's like run for 5 minutes on this treadmill because I just want to see the freak out from Sabrina. It will be epic. Dujon and Lilani, such a meltdown this week for them, but they recovered so quickly. Noah, 5th place team, Dujon, Lilani.
Yeah, as I said before, a lot of teams getting a lot more, some different teams getting airtime this week, and this was definitely one of them, so I'm glad in the first 2 weeks we were able to get a good gauge of all the teams, really, except for a few. I like them, just those pictures were hilarious with Lilani's face. Not one of my favourites, but kind of like a middle team, like Alana and Audrey last week, or Alana and Audrey last season, but really when I see them I just think of Mustard all the time.
Mustard?
I think Dijon and Lilani.
Oh, that took me a second.
Every time I'm just like, mustard. I want some mustard.
Thank you for stopping there. Rossi, Dijon, and Lilani.
Yeah, definitely a big turnaround because they were the most invisible in the first episode. I'd say, and now they were big stars in this one. But I like last season 25, Adam and Bethany, they got their surfing challenge. Dijon and Lilani are getting the dancing challenges. Mm-hmm. I just wonder.
All of us wonder. Any elaboration on that?
Well, there was a dance challenge in this episode with the motion, and then apparently there's dancing in the next episode. I didn't see the preview, but
oh, like everybody's gonna have something they're strong at throughout the season, you mean?
Well, right now it only seems like they're getting the advantages. Yeah.
So Jared, Dijon, and Lilani.
I think they're good value. You want those teams that go off on each other and just kind of fight over the littlest things. I think my favourite moment was when Dijon says to her, he says, don't snatch, and then he snatches the papers off her, which was just hilarious. So hopefully they're around for the long haul.
And we're on to 6th place team, Neil and Chris. I thought this was kind of a quiet week for them. Anybody disagree? Noah?
Yeah, they were hardly shown. One of the teams that didn't get too much airtime this week because they were just middle of the pack. Not one of my favourites. I don't hate them for any reason. I just don't really love them. So.
Rossi?
Yeah, they were quiet. I don't really remember what they did. Yeah, they were passed by Nick and Sabrina, so they were pretty pathetic.
Jared?
Yeah, I don't remember much from them either. To me, they were kind of one of the more boring teams. I think the only thing I can remember is that Kristen, she death stared somebody in the dancing thing after they got in. They were still there, so that was funny. But apart from that, they weren't really shown too much.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Like, again, we didn't see anything from them, but that one moment does stand out. This is 2 weeks in a row where Kristen, I think, is upstaging Neil, and he's the celebrity casting. So I'm hopeful that we're going to get more of her throughout the season. I'm hopeful we can get some, as Ross says, some christening on Kristen. We'll have to stay tuned for that. 7th place, Dana and Amanda. Anything else to add, Noah?
As I mentioned before, they're just kind of the meh team. Like, one time they were shown was because of the running fiasco, but again, don't hate them for any particular reason, but certainly not one of my favourite teams, and while I think they will be around for a while, there's nothing too much to them. They're a bit bland. So, yeah, they're okay.
Rossi?
Yeah, I liked them a bit more this episode, just because like, we saw them do something instead of just, like, coasting through the challenges or just not being shown. Also, this episode, I did notice like, when someone tries to do a Canadian accent in their voice, in their speech pattern, I just noticed it through Dana and Amanda.
The Maritimes accent that any foreigner automatically thinks is the way all Canadians speak, you mean?
Yes.
Chili.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Only Canadians get that. Rossi, or sorry, you just spoke. Jared, I'm sorry.
What?
Jared, Dana, and Amanda.
Yeah, I wouldn't really be too sad to see them go home. I don't think they really offer that much to the show at the moment. I mean, 2/7, maybe they can just finish 7th on every leg until they're eliminated, and that would be interesting.
Yeah, what I did like in this episode is I always like teams that can have a really strong moment followed by something of complete stupidity, because as we were commenting, it's nice to see things get shaken up, and I think that's them falling behind helped this episode, and it also brought more personality out of them. They were freaking out more. Police officers, apparently in Canada, police officers just take things very seriously because both teams are very serious, but I think the more
As
that
they should.
Yeah. We didn't, I mean, we don't want to dump on America, but American police officers from what we've seen so far, no, I think the American police officers we've seen show a lot more personality. So I'd like to see a little bit more out of that out of some of these on Amazing Race. But they were my preseason pick for number 1, so I'm holding out hope they stick around. 8th place, Brent and Sean, one of the star teams from episode 1. Noah?
Yeah, definitely not as much as they had in episode 1. No vomiting or anything like that. But even in their absence, they still had funny or humorous moments, and they're probably my top 5 teams. Their dancing was hilarious. I just think, I'm not sure which one's the kind of one who's a bit more chubbier, but Sean, yeah, he is hilarious, and Brent is still funny too, but I think Sean has the most quotes out of any of them, and I love it, all these other teams not wanting to do the selfies, and then they get to the selfie challenge and just dominate it, and this is my selfie face. So that was great. I'm really liking Brent and Sean. I think they're bringing a lot to the season.
They're going to be the one-liner kings. I love the part when Gino and Jesse show up, barely dressed in their Rapanui outfit. They're like, our body doubles are here.
Yeah, that was fun.
Rossi, Brent, and Sean?
Probably my second favorite team. They're just so funny. When Sean, I think it was Sean, went to go do the roadblock, when the truck was driving away, he's like, pray for us.
Yeah, and as we said earlier, then he's like, so I'm not responsible for doing anything, just living through it. Yeah. Like, Sean is a confessional machine. He's a one-liner machine. I want them around as long as possible. Jared?
Machine? Is he a Terminator?
Machine, yes. No, Terminator's back. We'll get to that.
Sorry, I'm just trying to fit it into every episode I ever do now.
We apologize for anybody who saw Terminator Genesis and is constantly hearing us talking about it, because you suffered through enough.
I apologize to anyone who saw Terminator Genesis.
You have suffered enough. Let's move on. Jared, Terminator Genesis, how bad was it?
Not one of my favorite movies. I haven't seen it, but the reviews weren't great. Brent and Sean, I just love their rivalry with the other brothers. I think that it would just be the perfect ending to the season if somehow they cause Gino and Jesse to go home, or they just beat them by like this little bit right at the end. That would just be amazing.
Yeah, I would like to see that. We don't get a lot of seasons with 2 teams of brothers, so it would be nice to have like a showdown between them. They're polar opposite teams. Season 3 of what?
The Ken and Gerard. Ken and Gerard and the Model Boys.
Yeah, so nothing in about 15 years at least. But yeah, you're right.
Hashtag more fun than flow.
More fun than flow, yes. Who are we on now? 9th place, Simeon Opie. Noah, you were a huge fan of them last week.
Simi and Opie, they were in this episode.
I was wondering that. It's the first notes I have on them.
I think they also went to Santiago as well, rather than Santiago, because I didn't see them. I still like them, but they were nothing in this episode. I think they had maybe 1 confessional and 2 scenes, so there's not much of all the teams, this was the one that stepped back while other teams stepped forward.
Yeah,
I'm sure down the line they'll have bits, but yeah.
I completely lost track of them. I can only remember them opening the clue at the beginning of the episode and then them checking at the pit stop. Like, if anybody listening to this right now can remember a scene with Simi and Opie in the middle of it, please tell us, because I cannot remember anything. I have not a single note on them. Rossi, do you remember anything else from Simi and Opie in this episode, or were they pretty much on the cutting room floor?
They were pretty invisible, but I do remember that when they got the clue for the dancing challenge, their reaction was pretty ridiculous and wild. But yeah, they were pretty invisible, but they had I think they had a good first episode, so not too terrible that they were quieter in this one.
Yeah, based off episode 1, I agree. They're easily one of my favorite teams, so it's okay to have 1 week off. Jared, you didn't get to see episode 1, so how do you like the names Simi and Opie? Or do you have anything else to base an opinion on?
Yeah, I can't really form an opinion on them. I do remember when they were in a taxi and they went past the place that they meant to stop at, and they were kind of like, oh, I think it's there. So then they just kept driving and went for who knows how long further before eventually they're like, we're lost, I think it was back there, and finally turned around. So, I mean, that was a bit stupid to go past the spot when they knew it was the spot, but I mean, who knows? I'll see what they're like next week.
And this is one that I don't think anybody expected to be talking about so late in the rankings. Noah, Gino, and Jesse, really a big nosedive in this episode.
Yeah, I loved that they went from first to second worst, because, not that I hate them, it's just, I thought they were going to be the Ali and Steve of this season, or the hockey girls of this season. I thought they were just going to win everything every week, and they still probably will. They're my winners picked, but I like that it's not going to be that predictable and that a team can drop that much. And also, I kind of like them this week. I didn't really like them too much in the first one. I didn't hate them, but I was just like, whatever, the team that does well. But I thought they were quite funny this week, so I like them, and I think they're going to stick around for a while, even though they were nearly out this week. But they still weren't going to be out. It was obviously the other random people.
Rossi?
Yeah, they had a really poor episode. They made a lot of bad decisions, like running from the detour instead of searching for another cab. And then almost thinking of trying to go up the hill and reluctantly choosing a cab, and just bad choices all around.
Jared?
Yeah, I think they're a good team. I think it will be good for the show if sort of they keep yo-yoing back and forth. I mean, you don't want a team that just dominates right from the start to the end, so it was sort of good to see them fall to the back of the pack. I did love their moment at the start where they read the clue and they were asking where Chile was, and one of them's like, I'm pretty sure it's in Europe. Is it in Europe? And they asked the cab driver, and he's like, South America.
Were they asking Chile or Chile? I think that was the confusion.
Probably.
I totally agree with you, Jared. I really like when teams that are good can just have like an awful week, and it makes the whole season unpredictable. I thought this was, completely with you, Noah, this was a more entertaining week for them than the first one. And I'm hoping that next week we can get them to rebound a little bit, because it would have been a disaster if they came in last, which brings us to our last place team. Noah, you've been holding it in since you watched the episode. Susan and Sharn, go ahead.
Where do I start? Let me first just say that I'm sure Susan and Shanjit are great people, great wives, great mothers, great sisters, great whatever. But they are my least favourite Amazing Race team of all time. I was jumping up in joy when they were eliminated. Like last episode ended on a cliffhanger where it's like, we're gonna catch up. Mm-hmm. They just failed at everything, and like they sucked in episode 1, they sucked in this episode. They were really horrible. I was just really annoyed by them. Couldn't find anything funny about anything they were doing. It was just all round bad. Definitely my least favourite team, worse than Joey and Megan.
Oh.
I could not stand them at all. I was so happy. This season's jumped up a lot now that they've been eliminated. But again, that's talking about 80 minutes of a TV show and a pre-season picture with a car next to it that I'm talking about. So I'm sure they're not like that in real life, but just on the show, I could not stand them at all, and for one last time, hashtag was looking at the car.
We'll see if anybody could beat that one later. Rossi, Susan, and Sharn.
Not as negative of an opinion as Noah. I don't like them, but not as negative.
That's a first.
They were still pathetic. Like, she's crying while at the painting challenge. Like, get over yourself.
I love when that happened. That kid's like, "Pay tears, okay."
And they couldn't even selfie right. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, I really want to find out what happened to those selfies because, like, if anybody has the episode, go back and watch because it's really funny that it's clearly not their selfies. So how bad were they in the first place? Jared, Susan, and Sharn.
I didn't mind them. I mean, they were terrible at the race, but that was kind of the fun of it. I am glad that they've gone home kind of sooner rather than later because I do get frustrated when those teams that are really just pathetic at everything somehow manage to hang in there and then even sometimes take away the win, which just gets me really mad. So I think it's good that they've gone home here because they were never really going to be competitive or up the front of the pack, but I didn't hate them.
I'm kind of going to be agreeing but disagreeing in some ways with everybody. I was a little bit more optimistic about Susan and Sharn last week. I kind of found them entertaining for what we did see. I'm thinking the reason that they seemed so bland this episode, it really was out of their control because they were so far behind. Which brings me to, before I finish on Susan and Sharn, I just have a question. Was anybody finding it suspenseful at the end? Did they think there was any chance Gino and Jesse would be last, or was it pretty obvious to everybody?
Pretty obvious. A tiny bit.
Rossi?
Yeah, pretty much what Noah said.
Jared?
Yeah, pretty similar. Like, for a moment I thought potentially, but just given that they hadn't even sort of been shown and they were definitely really far behind, you sort of got the impression that even though the brothers were walking places that they had no hope of catching up.
One thing that, like, just to say, like, they use that, like, we don't have a cab or we can't get there without a cab, like, trick in editing so much that I feel like it's so, like, obvious now.
I want to give credit to the show for one thing, is they actually tried an editing trick this week, even though it was predictable, which season 26, the US version, they didn't even try. I mean, every single week it was obvious who was going. I think it almost would have worked if it wasn't for the fact that, again, maybe I'm just watching too closely, but every scene of Gino and Jesse, you could still see the sky had some light in it, and every scene of Susan and Sharn, it's pitch black. So you know that they're at least half an hour behind. So that
very
kind of
bipolar weather in Santiago.
Yeah, Santiago. But
Day night.
getting back to Susan and Sharn, I think because they were so far behind, there really wasn't much they could show them this week. It was more or less just distract the audience and maybe there'll be some suspense. I don't think they would have been that
Who's
bad.
worse, Susan and Shanjit, or those random sucky girls from the second season who drowned in the...
They at least had the drowning moment, I think. So
I think the team that got eliminated second on second season, who broke their arm in the water.
yeah, that was fantastic. Again, a great moment. Susan and Sharn didn't have a moment. That's, I think, what holds them back. And it's nothing against them as a team. It's just they don't have a story on this episode. So
For a second, I thought it was going to be a non-elimination because John was so quick with the Susan Shan, you're out of here. Like, it was really quick.
And
so
we're also so used to two back-to-back seasons of the U.S. version, so we're used to Phil's delivery. It was like, I'm sorry to tell you, you've both been eliminated from the race. And John's was just like, I'm sorry, you've been eliminated. Like, it was just, he changed it up so you do a double take. What did you just say there? Jared, you said something interesting, that the teams that are always coming in second last or whatever, that you get annoyed with them. And I completely agree with that. But just a bit of a mention here to a better season. Season 2, I believe, yes, 2 of the Australian edition with the two sisters who are always in last.
Oh, I love that.
I have not finished the season yet, so don't spoil anything, but I could watch them come in last every single week and never get annoyed.
Oh, they are amazing.
Yeah. So if you're listening, you can come on the show too. And Susan and
Come
Sharn,
on
by
board.
all means, come on the
Hashtag
show.
more fun than flow.
Yeah, more fun
Well,
than flow.
Susan and Sean, if you want to, you can come on, but you can arrange the time.
Yeah, we'll welcome anybody from this season or past ones.
Susan and Sean, if you want to come on, you arrange the time with us, you record and edit the episode, and we'll put it on our website.
And just send it.
No, in all seriousness, I've been quite mean, but we will have Susan and Sean on
Isn't
if
it
they
funny
want to.
how you'll be surprisingly absent when they do their interview?
Yeah, I've got to go away now. No, but seriously, if you're listening, we'll have you on to defend your guest.
Do we have hashtags for Susan and Sharn? Noah, you had one earlier, which let's see if anybody could beat.
Yeah. Hashtag looking at the car.
Looking at the car, Rossi
Hashtag we suck.
and Jared.
Hashtag less crying, more painting.
I'm gonna go with
Their
hashtag
lips.
paint with your kids, not Santa goggles.
Yeah, hashtag need to do more painting with my kids.
Yeah.
Hey, they did have a moment. She doesn't paint with her kids.
Yeah, but she paints with the Santa Gagoin kids.
Yeah, her kids would be watching that. Gee, Mum!
Thanks a lot. Well,
Susan and Sean.
We will go through the predictions now, and this is turning into a very fun season for predictions. First of all, as we established last week, the random selection of Jared Lubick's brain versus the random selection of Kristen's Skynet computer. You two were the top two last week, so this week I'm happy to report that Jared and Kristen are dead last. As Jared picked Susan and Sharn to come in 10th place, and your prediction was the second worst. The worst would be Kristen, last week's winner, who picked Susan and Sharnjeet to come in 8th place.
I love that Jared picked 10th and he's still one of the worst.
Yeah, I know!
Everyone picked them super low.
Let's get to it here. We have Alex pick Susan and Sharn in dead last. Noah picked Susan and Sharn in dead last.
Dead last.
I picked Susan and Sharn in dead last, which only leaves Anthony Rossi, who picked Susan and Sharn in 11th place, which gives him the
Rossi.
point for the week. Rossi, how happy are you to be on the leaderboard with a dead-on prediction?
I mean, the fact that I was neck and neck with Jared, who didn't even look at the teams, it's pretty sad, but I'll take the point.
Noah, are you going to pull ahead next week with your prediction for next week? Let's pull it up. Noah, you had Brian and Cynthia going this week, and you had Neil and Kristen going next week. You think it'll happen?
I think Brian and Cynthia are in it for the long haul, but I could definitely see Neil and Kristen going next.
Just to recap, Rossi, you have Dujan and Lalani going next week. I have Jared. You have Susan and Sharn going next week. Good luck. Wow, and Noah is on a plane right now.
I apologize.
Noah has landed. Okay, and I have Brian and Cynthia going next week. Let's hope not. But we have only the computer versus the braid of Jared Lubick. So Kristen has Neil and Kristen going next week, and we already covered Jared. You're dead on Susan and Sharn.
Ooh, hoping for an outcast twist to get that point.
I'm not.
What were you going to say, Noah?
I said I'm not hoping for an outhouse twist.
Well,
Yeah, bring the truck
Max
back.
and Elias have an equal chance to coming back then.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
It's not even worth it for the chance of Susan and Sharn, even if Max and Elias are the other options.
Susan and Sean will even miss being there at the finish line. They will have missed the plane to get there or something like that.
So the truck will fill in.
Yep.
Yeah, the cardboard cut out.
They do have the car there.
Next week, we're sticking around South America, Buenos Aires, Argentina. Noah, your biggest complaints are on the back-to-back South American legs. We should correct that from earlier. What do you think about next week?
Get back to Canada because
They spent an entire season in Canada, and you want them back already?
whenever they go to South America, it's not just South America, it's South America for 4 freaking episodes. Yeah. We're not going to get out of there until week 8 or something, so yeah. Come on, come to China or something.
come to China. Are you there right now?
Go to China. Come to Hobart.
Rossi, are you looking forward to Buenos Aires?
Yeah. But I guess they're just trying to be more economical than they were last season.
Well, we know Nicaragua
Going
is
to
cheap to film in, so why aren't they going there?
Yeah.
Well, Snug's pretty cheap. Why don't they go
Yeah,
there?
exactly. Jared,
Cheap, we'll have you for free.
how cheap would it be to film in Emo Plains, Jared?
Oh, not that expensive, but I mean, what are they going to visit? The park?
Are there no scenic farms in Emu Plains?
Yeah, go to
No, they're all flat farms, and that doesn't count. You got to have hills in the farms for them to be scenic.
Well, that's it for Santiago and Buenos Aires next week. We'll see some soccer. We'll see some meltdowns, hopefully, and we'll see more of Brian and Cynthia's deadpan humor. Until next time, we've got a couple people joining us here. Hopefully, I'll be back next week. Noah?
Yes, looking forward to it. I'm loving this season. Each week it just gets really good and already better than season 26. So I'm just counting down the days to the next episode. I'm loving it.
And Rossi, thanks for joining us halfway through.
Good to be here for half of it at least.
And Jared, thanks for coming back from your vacation just to record this episode for us.
No problem. I've clearly got my priorities in order.
And it's your brain versus Skynet, Kristen, so tune in week to week to find out the results of that. And everybody else listening right now, you've already found our page, so might as well go ahead and subscribe to us on iTunes, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or follow Survivor Oz on Facebook and Twitter, because they're doing all the inaccurate posting for us this season. And
Thanks, Ben.
thank you, Ben. Until next time, we will speak to you on the plane to Santiago.